Hey, what's up? Welcome back to another awesome episode of the Lifeonaire Show. I'm your host, Jason Wojo. On the Lifeonaire Show, we help people make more, work less, and live better lives. I am joined by my co-host, Polish Peter. What's up, bro?
Hey, man. So as you notice, I decided to go with a different voice structure. And in fact, listen, on my coaching call yesterday, one of my students, he told me I no longer sound like I have a Polish accent. I have an American accent. So I think maybe that's what's working.
You sound like a cat that got run over, quite frankly. Like, I think that's my closest.
All right. Well, that's not good. All right.
Listen, dude. So today's podcast, listen up. This is different from our normal podcast, but this is probably one of the most impactful things we've shared recently in a directly relevant way for small business owners, for entrepreneurs, and for independent contractors. And what we're going to do is discuss a brand new ruling, a regulation that has gone through and has been approved that affects the way you can characterize people as independent contractors, which is hugely relevant, man. Hugely relevant on so many different levels. That will essentially, if this goes through, it's gonna make it much more difficult to consider somebody an independent contractor, and that means you're either gonna have to let them go or classify them as an employee. We are speaking with Patrice Onwuka, who dude, you should see her resume. It's insane. She's a director for the Center of Economic Opportunity at the Independent Women's Forum. She's on a radio morning show, a radio station. She does all kinds of like fellowship, philanthropy. She's into economic development and technology, like all these kinds of amazing things. She's been on Fox News, all these different things. And so
she's a powerhouse.
Oh yeah, dude, this episode's legit. It is legit, and she's the real deal. So tell them what they're going to learn, man.
So listen, if you are a 1099 and you may not be a 1099 anymore, I want you to listen to this particular episode. If you are a company owner who hires 1099, imagine you would possibly have to take that 1099 person that you're working with and turn them into a W-2 employee. Or you can no longer work with those 1099s. Right? Yep. Those kinds of implications. I want you guys to listen to it from the perspective, even if you're a company owner or a 1099, or listen.
Or, bro, how about if you see how not being able to be a 1099 could affect the prices you pay for things moving forward because business profits have shifted as well?
Right. So, I mean, here's the thing. This episode, I think, is super duper important. I think most people are not even aware of this ruling that has passed. And I wasn't aware of it till earlier in the share, and it's insane, I think. But let's talk to her and see what she's got to say and what we can do, you, me, and people listening to this particular episode to help this ruling stay in the way that, or get eliminated, whatever. I'm not a politician, so just a disclaimer here. I mean, I would be the worst one at it, I think. But, listen, this is affecting all of us, I think.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's go to our interview right now with Patrice Onwuka. Hey, Patrice, what's up? Welcome to the Lifeonaire Show. I'm super excited to have this conversation.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
So listen, Patrice, word on the street is that there's some really important things going on right now behind in the golden hallways of legislation that small business owners, entrepreneurs, independent contractors need to know about. And I'm really excited to get into this because quite frankly, it's a big deal. Can you bring us up to speed on what's happening?
Absolutely. So earlier this year, the Biden administration released a new regulation that would redefine who can be classified as an independent contractor. This is humongous. As we know, there are two types of workers in this economy, an employee of a company or an organization and an independent contractor. You earn 1099 income. You are self-employed. You are a small business owner. You are of a side hustle, whatever freelancer, however you want to categorize yourself. You work for yourself and you build your own client base. It may be one or multiple clients. You work on your own schedule, around your own priorities, but you work for yourself. The new regulation that will make it much more difficult to retain that independent contractor status because they've changed the definitions for who would qualify, what the criteria would be. And this is concerning. We saw in the previous administration an effort to make it very simple to determine, what are the 2 criteria out of maybe 5 that are most important to determine if you should be classified that way. The Biden administration is expanding that out to about 6 different criteria. None of them carries greater weight than the other. And they actually have this random kind of catch-all 7th criteria that's like, it just depends on the circumstance. So what I think this is going to lead to is a lot of uncertainty around, okay, is my status still as an independent contractor? And then for people who, companies and organizations that hire independent contractors, they're going to say, well, you know what? I want to stay in compliance. I really don't know. I've sat down with my lawyers. Because I don't know, I would rather just eliminate my freelance workforce rather than try to make a mistake. And maybe they will hire those people full time, but let's be real. A lot of the reason why a company or startup, a small business hires independent contractors is because they don't have this sustainable revenue to keep someone on full time, paying them all the benefits that's attached to that. So this is concerning. This is a direct strike at self-employment, at flexible work, and at like the new way of doing work in this economy.
So, by the way, what I'm about to say could be a stretch, but what I'm wondering, the first thing that comes to mind when I hear this is like, I would like to think that we have intelligent, rational leaders who are making informed choices. Like, what is
I'm not going to make any comments on that, by the way.
I know it could be a stretch. It could be a stretch, but why is this happening? Like, what's the intent? Like, what's going on to prompt this action?
So, the Department of Labor, where the rule is coming from, they're saying, well, there's rampant misclassification in our economy. They don't have any data to back that up, but they're just in short saying an employee, being an employee is better than being self-employed. You get the full benefits, you get health care. If you maybe get overtime, you're qualifying for unemployment benefits, everything that's attached to a traditional W-2 employee. But that strikes at the heart of freedom of choice. We call it worker freedom at Independent Women's Forum. You should choose what you want. And a lot of independent contractors, a lot of folks listening to us today, they may have the choice and have chosen, I want to work for myself. I'll secure my own health care. Maybe I have a spouse who already has health care coverage, so I don't need to worry about that. I wanted to negotiate my own pay, and I can negotiate higher rates as a contractor than I can as an employee, because so much of that pay gets caught up in all of the overhead and the benefits. So it's I think a misunderstanding of what really is the best way for workers to work. And it's this belief that employment is the best way to work. And that's not necessarily the case. Let individuals choose what's best for themselves.
So I got a question for you, because I'm Polish over here. I need simple language. A lot of times when it comes to this legal stuff, it's kind of... So let's say I'm a 1099 contractor right now. Like, I have my own company. I'm a single kind of an operator kind of a thing, right? And I'm just doing my thing. Tell me, like, I've never heard this news before. Tell me in a plain English, like, what does this mean? Where they're passing that it says... Does it tell like I can't be anymore a contractor anymore? I can't be 1099 anymore? What does it mean? What are they talking about?
It means that you may not be able to be a 1099 contractor anymore. And I use the word may because we don't know. That means that all of your clients may have to sit down and look at the work you do and look at the 6 new criteria and say, well, maybe not. Maybe he is an independent contractor, but under this rule, it kind of doesn't look like it is. It looks like he needs to be an employee. And so, well, what's going to happen? Your clients may say, well, I can't afford to hire this guy full time. I only use him 2 times a month or every other month. So why in the world would I bring him on full time and pay him benefits and salary and all of that? I would rather just end his contracts and not work with him again. That's the uncertainty of what's of this rule that's now implemented. And what could that lead to? It could lead to a lot of contracts ending. It could lead to a lot of companies saying, you know what, we're not going to use freelancers anymore. We're just going to have to figure something else out. And guys, I will tell you, anybody who lives in California, This is not new to you. California passed very similar restrictions in 2019 and went into force in 2020. Self-employment fell 10.5%. You're talking about hundreds of thousands of people who suddenly lost contracts, had to shut down their small businesses at the same time of the pandemic too, but lost all of this opportunity and this ability to work for themselves. That, what happened in California, is now becoming federal law, which means applicable everywhere.
So, and how many independent contractors do we have in the U.S.?
Anywhere between, I've seen 60 to 75. It just depends on how you 60 to 75 million. Sorry, I left out that.
Yeah, million. That's an important point.
That's a probably important thing, yeah.
That M word is huge.
Wow.
We're talking about over 40% of the workforce, and that's going to grow, right? As people recognize, you know what, I don't want to retire, but I'm tired of the rat race. Or maybe I see a lot of people, baby boomers, who are starting to get laid off, unfortunately, can't find a full-time job again, contracting, becoming their own consultants. So we're seeing this tens of millions, like over 70 million people, according to one statistic, are independent contractors or freelancers. And guys, it is not just the Uber driver or the Postmates delivery person. If you're in entertainment, if you're a content creator, you are probably have hired or are hiring 1099 workers as your photographer, your video editor. Maybe you are a proofreader, somebody writing scripts for plays. It could be in the healthcare industry, home health aides taking care of people. And I mean, the list goes on. You're selling real estate, you're a 1099 worker. You're selling Mary Kay cosmetics, Senators. Like
that's what Wojo does. He sells Mary Kay on the side. You know.
Well, Patrice, as you're talking, what's going through my head is like, Peter, we're gonna have to fire you, buddy. I can't afford you anymore. Like, so this is a problem.
Finally,
right?
Finally, I've been asking for how long?
Right. Well, hold on. Seriously though.
Yeah.
Patrice, like when I hear this, I'm like, okay, because like Lifeonaire attracts and resonates with a lot of small business owners, solopreneurs, independent contractors, because along with that field or that pursuit is this idea of freedom and the freedom of choice that seems like it's being severely restricted, imposed upon. And so, for instance, not only that, but like and I don't want to go here necessarily into depth because I'm not a tax professional, but like W-2 taxes, you don't have some of the same advantages as you do as an independent contractor. You can't take the write-offs. There's more restrictions, and so that you have a financial incentive, not only the fact that your hours and some of your ability to choose, those kinds of things is going to be impeded, but also like even the bottom line could be impacted as well. And also of that, percentage of independent contractors that you gave, like over half of those are women, correct?
Yes. So let me take those in different bites because you hit so many good things there. When it comes to women, we're an organization that looks at policies that impact women. And by the way, that's every policy. But this is really one where it hits at flexibility. We talk to so many women, stay-at-home moms or moms who had to drop out of the workforce full-time to raise their children. I spoke to women who are survivors of violence, who physically, emotionally can't be in a traditional workforce setting. We've talked to older women who retired and had to unretire because inflation has cut into their retirement funds and their budget. And all of them have said flexibility is what drives them. And in fact, over 90% of women say it is because of flexibility that they choose to be an independent contractor. So yeah, you're taking away their choice, their freedom to say, you know what, I don't want to work in a traditional 9-to-5. I don't want to be someone's employee. I want to work for myself. Maybe I have one client, maybe I have multiple, but my unique circumstances, whether it's family, maybe taking care of an aging parent, maybe they have their own health conditions. All of those circumstances demand that they have flexibility. And so when you crack down on independent contracting, when you make it so difficult to retain that status, you are hitting women women squarely. And then just the broader freedom point, I love that point, because we as a nation, we are built on the idea of freedom, not some government dictator telling you, or even frankly, a government bureaucrat telling you what the best way to work is, where you should work is. You get to choose what you want to do. And I think there are a lot of people who may drop in and out of W-2 employment all the time. Maybe they take a full-time job. Maybe they drop out and do independent contracting for a period. But we should have that choice. That sets us apart from other countries. That is what drives the entrepreneurial spirit. And it's sad. Last week was National Small Business Week. We've been really hitting, taking out our trumpets and really trying to educate people that this is it. This rule is in place now. It is effective, and frankly, the government can choose to enforce this against any company they want to at any time, and that could lead to an audit where you have to go through and figure out based on the new criteria whether every independent contractor you hire is in fact based on this new criteria an independent contractor, or face the penalties. And nobody wants to go through a government audit.
So hold on, this is a law? It's been passed already?
It's a regulation, so it's been passed. It's been passed. March 11th, it became effective, so it can be enforced at any moment. Now, the good news is that Congress is actually going to do something trying to do something to overturn this. This was a federal agency, the Biden administration. We now have Congress. It's a tool that Congress uses to overturn regulations from agencies. And a bill has been introduced in both the House and the Senate, the U.S. House and the U.S. Senate, to overturn this regulation. The clock is running out, though, on it actually getting passed. So we will have to see what happens.
So before we get back into this episode, I want to share something really important with you. One of the things that me and Vojo do here, and we've been doing this for over probably 8-10 years now, is we've been running these events called Get a Life Getaway. And in these events, you sit down and you work on your entire life. You work on your vision for your entire life. And we literally dive into every single area of your life to show you, to help you create the vision that you truly deserve. Because if you notice from the episodes that we've been recording here over the years, is this vision is so important. It's probably one of the biggest missing elements in anyone's success. And if you look at the successful people that you see in life, they have some form of a vision that they follow. So I want to encourage you to go and check out one of our events. We do these events throughout the year. We have tens of thousands of people gone through these events, created their vision, and you'll be shocked to see what kind of a life they're able to create because of that. So head over to lifeonaire.com. That's lifeonaire.com. At the top of the page, there's a tab called Events. Click on that tab, and you're going to see everything that you need to know about that specific event, when it's held, where it's held, and how to get there. Now, here is the cool thing. Because you are a listener to our podcast, we want to give you 50% off coupon. Actually, we'll give you a little code that when you go to the checkout page, on the right side, you're going to see a promo code area. Put this word in there, podcast. Podcast, hit apply, and you're going to get instantly 50% off coupon. Head over to the page. Don't delay. Do it right now before you go and do something else. All right, let's get back into the episode.
This feels like, so I'll just use the word icky to me right now, because the land of the free feels like it's turning into the land of the employed. And we're taking away the right for people to choose. Now, listen, are there some downsides to be an independent contractor? Yeah, sure. But having that choice is what it's all about. Like having autonomy, having agency over your decisions is something that I feel very strongly about this in many areas, by the way, but this is a huge one. Because I'm involved in small business. And so what can people do? Like, how do they get involved? Because here, let me also say this.
Yeah.
There's going to be people that are going to listen to this and are going to be like, yeah, that really sucks, but I have 1,000 other things on my plate right now, and my vote or my letter or whatever doesn't make a difference. And I'm just one person. What can I do? Like, how do people really make a difference and feel like they're making a difference versus just feeling like, forget about it, it doesn't make a difference kind of thing?
Yeah. First off, you can make a difference. At our sister organization, Independent Women's Network, IW Network, we have a call to action where we're asking folks to text their lawmakers and say, support this bill to overturn the independent contractor rule. We want Congress to overturn this rule. We need the House and the Senate, all members of the House and the Senate, to overturn this rule. Bottom line, get rid of it, rescind it, turn it back to the way the criteria before, but get rid of it. So you can actually make your voice heard very, very easily. One click, the text is pre-populated. But if you have stories, like you all are independent contractors, this is also a good time to share with us your stories. We have an opportunity for you to share your story. Why are you an independent contractor? If this ability for you to be self-employed disappeared overnight, what would that do to you? We want to hear those stories, and I'll tell you how powerful they are. We have, over the years, going back to when California did this, we started building relationships with independent contractors, like one woman who survived breast cancer 3 times, and was able to raise her 3 children at the same time because she could be an independent contractor and manage her business and hire other women as independent contractors. We take that story, produced a video of it, multiple stories, produced videos, sharing that not just on social media, but with lawmakers themselves. We brought independent contractors to Capitol Hill last month to meet with officers and offices and members of Congress, saying, "Hey, don't let this stand. This is wrong, and this is how it's going to impact me." Those stories are what is motivating those lawmakers to actually push for this legislation to be passed. So, making your voice heard on something like this is important. Now, I don't want folks to do what the TikTok kids did and call up and say, "I'm going to kill myself if you ban TikTok." No, we're not telling you to go over the top, but be authentic. And we're providing opportunities for people to really make their voice heard on this. The other way that this could be overturned, this rule, is through the court system. And there are several lawsuits pending in different federal courts, but that's going to take time. And all it takes, folks, is the federal government or your local labor department to send a note to all of the businesses saying, we want to know if you are in compliance with this new rule. Look at all of your independent contractors. Does it meet the criteria? And I guarantee you a lot of companies, big and small, are probably going to realize, oh, my independent contractors that I hire out do not fit into this new criteria. That's bad news for folks.
So when you mention people reaching out, whether it's text or physical letter or email, do you have any examples of the kinds of things people should say? And the only reason I ask is because I recently was approached about submitting something that I actually believed in. I'm like, yeah, I'd like to support you. They're like, awesome, but I'm like, I don't know what to say. And they're like, oh yeah, we have some template things for you to do just to make it easy for people to kind of understand. Because here's the thing, I know you're on the legislative side of things and you have a lot of experience in this area, but for me, who's someone who's not in that world, I always feel like, number one, my voice doesn't matter, and number two is that I don't even know what to say. Even if I did feel like it mattered. And so those would be 2 things that I think would help our audience participate more.
Well, we do have preset language. So it's just simply putting your name and your zip code in, and everything that you could read through the preset note, but it explains this is what the rule does. This is how it impacts independent contractors. It destroys flexibility and worker choice. Vote to overturn this rule. It's pretty simple. So it's already pre-populated. That said, if you want to put your own story in there, we welcome that, because I think the more that lawmakers, believe it or not, and here's the thing, if you get one call as a lawmaker, your staff gets one call about a random issue, 2 calls, 5, okay, what's this issue? 10, 20, 30, 100? Suddenly they recognize that their constituents care about this, and they're calling us saying, okay, we've been here getting a bunch of these letters. What is the issue? What is your position on it? Why should we care? And that opens up the door for us to also go on the other side and say, this is the policy, this is the implication, this is why your constituent is reaching out to you. So folks, believe me, your voice matters. And the more folks are doing these calls to action, the more important it becomes.
I'm really glad to hear that, because that to me is a lot more encouraging and more useful than maybe my previous perspective on this. What are we forgetting to ask about this that's so important? And I got to be honest, like to me, from the outside, this feels like a money grab. I'm making this up. I have no evidence for this, but like I'm looking at our national debt, I'm looking at this and that, I'm looking at these purported increase in IRS audits for wealthy individuals, along with the fact that it's easier to collect income from W-2, there's no less write-offs that an independent contractor has, et cetera, whatever. It doesn't the motivation, I guess, doesn't fully matter. The implications though matter a lot. Like, so what are we forgetting to ask you about this that's really important for people to know?
Well, you asked me about the motivation, and I said, there's this idea that W-2 employment is better than self-employment. There's actually another motivation, and this is where it's not political, but it is telling. There's a huge union, big labor push behind this. In California, when California implemented this, it was driven wholly and solely by the unions. The person who wrote the bill, left after she resigned after it was passed, and went to work for a big union.
Wow.
Why do unions care? Unions care. Unions exist, for many reasons, but they need headcount. They need people, and the number of regular folks who want to join unions has been dropping over decades. You cannot unionize an independent contractor. It's the bottom line. You have a worker, an employee, or an independent contractor. Employees can be unionized. Independent contractors can't be unionized. So what is a great way to suddenly get access to millions of independent contractors than to change the rules, reclassify them as employees, hopefully they get hired by somebody, and then force unionization in that workplace. Now, suddenly you have access to lots of new union members, you get union dues, and then those union dues go to support union causes and union the people that unions support, regardless of whether you guys or I agree with what the union is talking about and what candidates that they're funding. So there's a big part of that. And even to support that a little bit more, the current acting Department of Labor Secretary, Julie Su, she was the head of the labor division in California in implementing this. And she's now head of labor for the rest of the country. So President Biden has said he wants to be the most union-friendly president in history. I don't want to sound like a conspiracy theorist, but we have to understand that there is there is a bigger play here. It's to expand union power, expand union headcount, and get access to millions of people who are not in employment situations where they can be unionized. Independent contractors are very much a part of that. And these folks really do believe, and maybe they mean well. Maybe President Biden and the acting Secretary of Labor mean well with these policies. They want to make sure people are covered by health care, but at the same time, they don't want to let people make that choice for themselves, and that is wrong.
Well, and that's where, without making this political about one party versus another, I agree with you. I think even if we assume positive intent, the wrong decision with the right intent is still the wrong decision.
That's right.
And so it's important, regardless of who makes it, that we stand up and let it be known that, if you, the listener, disagree with this, I would even challenge you that, someone is going to be affected by this, even if you're not going to be. And so just the general concept, the theme of liberty and freedom is something that's being threatened right now.
Well, I would go as far as even if you're not an independent contractor, I would say that the implications of something like this would be further much bigger than just the independent contractors.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it, that one type of a workforce disappears. I mean, there is going to be a shift in how the economy operates.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. If you remove one big chunk out of something, it's going to be affected. Yeah. Not just that one person, but the whole.
Well, and you make a good point, the economic impact. What does it cost to actually take an independent contractor and hire them as an employee? 30% increase in labor costs, at least. That's one of the statistics that I've seen. So imagine you're a small business. You're now being told that, you have to increase your labor costs 30%, maybe upwards. What does that mean for your business? Well, that 30% has to come from somewhere. So what is it cutting back on the quality? Does it mean you can't reinvest in your business to grow your business? That's going to have a rippling impact. And yes, I think there are lots of other ways the entire economy is going to be affected if you have potentially millions of people who cannot get employed, cannot work as a regular employee. That unemployment rate suddenly starts to rise.
Well, or you're going to pass that 30% loss on to your customers and your client, and you're now going to pay more for goods and services.
Yep.
Right. So it affects everybody. Patrice, this is so valuable. We're going to put all the links in the show notes for people and where they can go. Is there anywhere else though that has an easy link to say that where people can learn more, or should we just put it all in the show notes?
Yeah, feel free to put it all in the show notes. But on iwf.org/chasing work, that's our storytelling campaign of individuals who are independent contractors who have who in California lost opportunities, and those who are national and in lots of different states saying, don't do this to me. This is how it's going to impact me. So chasing work is also a good place. iwf.org/chasing work. That's also a good resource for you.
Love it. Well, Patrice, number one, I want to thank you for being on the Lifeonaire Show and sharing this important message. But number two, even more importantly, I genuinely want to show my appreciation for what you do and who you are. Like, you're an advocate for people that maybe don't have a mouthpiece for themselves, or they don't feel like they do. And you're out there fighting the good fight so that we can enjoy the liberties that were promised to us upon the founding of this country.
Yeah, I mean, more people like you.
Yeah.
Thanks. Well, you know what? I love this country. I'm a naturalized citizen. I was born in the Caribbean, but I see the opportunity that's here and I want to protect it.
Keep rocking. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dude, I got to tell you, man, like, I have such a hard time with the fact that somebody thought this was a good idea. Whenever, dude, I'm so big on like autonomy and agency and be able to make your own choices. I mean, gosh, in life here, that's what we talk about all the time, right? Is like being able to choose your own path and not being told what to do, or having limitations or restrictions or things that are like in your way. And this just feels like such a blatant violation of that, man. It makes me mad.
Yeah, I don't want to go into the conspiracy conversation because I could do. I mean, I came out of a communist country, so I have a whole lot of this. But here's the thing. When it comes to this kind of conversation, it's affecting a lot of people. In fact, in one of our, the person that's in my mastermind, she's a copywriter, and she's kind of worried, like, this is affecting her. This is affecting all of us and how we actually get resolved. So I think what we need to do as a country is band together kind of a thing. And this is like, voices are heard in masses, in multiples, right? Things change when people speak up, I think. And this is one of those opportunities, I think, for all of us that are listening to it, to go and speak up and see, what we can do with this.
Well, man, you brought up you brought up an awesome point at the end there. Not only if you're a small business owner, not only if you're an independent contractor, but just the general public and how the general public will be affected by this, because as businesses change and their costs go up, guess who's that's getting passed down to? Like the everyday person who probably can't afford it already because we already have inflation and we already have all these escalated prices and things like that. And so this really does truly affect everyone. And I'll tell you, man.
Well, think about it this way. Listen, think about it this way. If I'm not mistaken, Uber, those are 1099s, right? I don't think they're employed by Uber.
Well,
right?
this is some of the people that it might change, right?
Right. So listen, let's say if I'm an Uber driver and I'm like the 1099, and that law is saying that I can no longer be a 1099 Uber driver. Imagine you no longer have Uber drivers driving around. I don't know. But the thing is, I think that the effect of it can have a profound effect on so many different things. Even if you're not 1099, not a contractor, the people that you are interacting with on a daily basis might be, and that will in turn might infect you. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So either the price goes up, or it's not even that service or product isn't even available anymore because it doesn't make sense, right? And so, like, this affects everybody, man. Like this, the other thing that like kind of rubs me the wrong way about this is like, I didn't really hear anything about it until recently. And like, so it kind of, I don't know, I'm not going to say it was like sneakily done or anything like that, but like, this is some of the stuff that I think we have to do something about. And, I also think that if you're someone who values freedom, anytime you see this being impinged on anybody, I think we should act up, because it's a very slippery slope. It starts off with one thing, then it goes to another and another. And this is how we kind of find ourselves in situations that are limiting our freedom and our ability to choose.
Yep. I've been there. So I can relate to what you're saying there.
So listen, if this resonated with you, I want you to do something about it. I want to implore, urge you, encourage you, like just take 2 minutes to do something. We're going to put all the links in the show notes of just something super fast and easy you could do to reach out to someone who has a hand in this and who can make a difference for us as voters, and as, citizens of the US. So please do that. Like really, this is legit. This is the real thing. It's not a fire drill. So do it. And I think this is a great exercise of your ability to choose now. Like, we have the ability to choose now. So let's do it before it's too late. Listen, and again, I know this wasn't a typical Lifeonaire show, but because so many of our audience members want to pursue their own thing, they want to pave their own path, they want to choose freedom over, working for somebody else. That's who Lifeonaires oftentimes are comprised of. And so this is why we felt it was so relevant to share this with you, so that you're aware of what's going on too. Because listen, here's the other thing. A lot of Lifeonaires don't normally check the news, because we're like, hey, I'm not going to worry about that. I'm going to worry about my life. And here's something that was brought to my attention, certainly, that I should have known about. And so we have a chance to do something. So I'd encourage you to do that. If you like the episode, if you got something from it, leave us a review, leave us a rating, share it with somebody else. This is how together we can empower our communities and eventually reach every corner of the globe to fight for freedom in every area of life. We'll see you next week, everyone. Take care.